A Chinese master sends his daughter a magical seal that will allow her to control a mythical dragon. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. For today's video, I'm going to recap a 2019 Russian-Chinese fantasy adventure film called Iron Mask. The movie is about an English mapmaker, Jonathan, who encounters a warrior princess named Cheng, whose home has been invaded by an evil witch. To win it back, the duo team up with a mysterious masked Russian tsar with a connection to Cheng's father. So without further ado, let's find out if Cheng Lan will be able to save her homeland from the two-faced witch. The movie begins with a voiceover revealing that long ago, a great dragon lived in the heavens. His eyelashes went down deep into the ground and came back up as a beautiful plant that could heal souls and bodies. People called the leaves of this plant tea. The dragon trusted the white wizards to take care of his eyelashes and preserve the healing properties of the tea. The great dragon made a magical seal and gave it to the wizards he trusted the most. This includes the master and his daughter, the princess. Merchants from all over the world traded great riches for this tea. But then, some of the wizards got greedy and started to control the dragon. These black wizards were led by the two-faced witch who raised an ancient army and captured the dragon's cave. To get more and more tea, they stopped trimming the great dragon's eyelashes that over time got heavy, and the dragon fell into a deep sleep. When the white wizards attempted to save the great dragon, the black wizards defeated them and captured the master and the princess. They were then held prisoners on opposite sides of the world. Currently, in the Tower Grey prison, 3 men are being held captive under strong security, which includes the master, the masked man who's apparently Peter the Great, the Russian Tsar. The 3 of them are chained to prevent them from escaping. Soon, a pigeon carrying a letter from Englishman Jonathan Green finds its way to their prison. Turns out, Jonathan has been taken prisoner, and the letter has been addressed to his love interest, Miss Dudley. In the coded letter that has been written backward, Jonathan apologizes to Miss Dudley for leaving suddenly after getting into an argument with her father. The letter also tells how he used all of his money to build the 5-wheeled carts that helped him calculate the exact measurements of many different lands. The masked man recognizes him from when he met him at the embassy. Upon discovering his new invention, the Russian Tsar ordered him to map the borders of his European possessions. After crossing the whole of Europe, he eventually reached the wild forests of Little Russia. There, he came across an ancient creature with countless eyes named V, who could read your mind. Later, he went to Moscow, hoping he would be rewarded for his work, but ended up being locked in a dungeon. This is because Jonathan recognized the real Russian Tsar, but the one he met in Moscow wasn't him. The masked man then sends the pigeon to Miss Dudley after writing a letter on the backside of the paper. He begs to be saved and declares himself to be Peter the First, the true Tsar of Russia. The message eventually reaches Lord Dudley's palace. The ambassador for the Queen of England, Lord Dudley, travels to Moscow after repeated requests from his daughter. When he gets there, he successfully convinces the Russian Tsar to release Jonathan. Lord Dudley and the Tsar advise Jonathan to travel to the Far East after his release and forbid him from going back to Europe. He agrees and requests to go on his journey with an Asian boy, who took care of him in the dungeon. However, the Tsar immediately sends men to kill Jonathan and the Asian man in secret. The Asian boy thanks Jonathan and introduces himself as Cheng Lan. To avoid bothering Jonathan, he requests to ride on top of the carriage. Soon, they are ambushed by some men as they travel through the snowy forests outside of the city. They drag them outside and begin to rob them. However, the men are attacked by a strange creature that manages to sneak into Jonathan's carriage. Cheng Lan engages in a fierce fistfight to show off his martial arts skills. When the men finally realize they can't defeat them and the strange creature, they run away. Jonathan is shocked when he discovers that the strange creature resembling a tiny elf is called Kochai, who then continues the journey with them. Later, Jonathan informs Miss Dudley, via another message, of an alleged conspiracy involving the Russian Tsar. He explains why he thinks the real Peter the Great left England and never came back. Miss Dudley goes to the Grey Tower to meet the head jailer, James Hook, who reminds her that he only permitted her to enter the prison because of her father's status. When she asks about Peter the Great, he replies that they do not hold any royals and are only holding one Russian, Peter Mikhailov, whom he believes is a spy. He takes her to the dungeon to meet Peter and instructs her to scream for help while he secretly listens to their conversation. She tells Peter that her husband's life depends on him getting his throne back. She then reads him Jonathan's last letter, according to which he is in Russia heading east with a Chinese boy named Cheng, who has great strength and courage. He also reveals that he mistook her for a girl if he hadn't seen him fighting off the robbers. That's when the master informs her that Cheng is his daughter. Dudley starts to worry when she imagines her lover taking a lengthy, solo trip with another woman. The master tells Miss Dudley that if she wants to see her husband alive, she has to help them escape. In the meantime, the third prisoner dies out of shock after seeing a woman. Soon, Hook announces his death and sends in 2 guards to remove the body. The guards accidentally release Peter and the master after forgetting that they were chained together. They take the chance to knock out the guards and break out of the cell. Hook chases them on his own to stop them from leaving the fortress. Before leaving, the master searches for the magical seal that was taken from him. When Hook catches him snooping around, he gives Peter the seal and tells him to give it to Cheng. Peter promises to return the seal and escapes the prison with Miss Dudley, while the master stays back and engages in a duel with Hook. Peter sets out on a mission to return the magic seal to Cheng after getting rid of the prison guards who were still following them. After that, Dudley subdues a drunken crew member and steals his clothes, disguising herself to board the ship headed toward China. On the other hand, Hook defeats the master and once more enslaves him. As Jonathan prepares to leave Russia, he writes another letter to Dudley, expressing his love for her and his concerns about Russia's future without the real Peter the Great. Back on the ship, the crew is searching for the woman who sneaked onto the ship without realizing they were heading into a powerful storm. The crew eventually finds out that Dudley is the one who sneaked onto the ship, but Peter arrives to defend her. However, massive waves start tossing the ship around before they get the chance to punish the two. The ship is then sucked directly into a mighty sea stack. That's when Peter takes the wheel and maneuvers the large rocks admirably. The crew then praises him, with one of them saying that only Peter the Great could pilot a ship that skillfully. The men then helped him remove the iron mask from his face. This is the first time in a long time that Peter has seen his face. Meanwhile, Jonathan, who is currently in the middle of the desert, is heading towards the Silk Road, which will take him to the Great Wall of China. Once they arrive at the Wall of China, they travel the length of the wall to reach Chen's village. At the port where merchants used to come to buy tea in the past, Jonathan hopes to locate an English ship. Upon arriving at the village, Cheng immediately notices how different it is. The people are under oppression, and the place is filled with misery. Turns out, the black wizards had taken over the land and were torturing the people. Cheng, the true princess, decides to stand by her people. She leaves Jonathan in the carriage, and with the help of a childhood friend, Li Hong, she fights the black wizards who are stealing the gold from the locals at the village market. However, the black wizards try to escape with the gold by creating a deafening sound that leaves the people disoriented. Later, the tax collector gives all the gold to the witch and lets her know about Cheng return. She orders the people to gather and see that the dragon only obeys her. She puts on a face mask to make herself look like Cheng. Soon, Jonathan pays a visit to her palace and introduces himself. He shows her the maps he drew during his numerous journeys. She believes that the maps can be used to increase the sale of their tea by sea and land. Later, the witch controls the dragon with a fake seal and forces the dragon to kill a man in front of the village to spread fear. Cheng, who sees all this, uses the kochai to warn Jonathan that he is in danger and that they need a map of the palace to save him. This leads to Jonathan asking permission from the witch to map out the palace. Li Hong then shows Cheng Lan how the people have been oppressed by the wizards. She takes her to the little girl whose grandfather was executed by the dragon while her mother was sold into slavery. The little girl sings the dragon a song that provides strength to the master in jail. Back on the ship, Dudley and Peter have arrived at the Chinese coast. The guards are told that they're Russian buyers who plan to buy tea. Li Hong's little brother notices the dragon seal in Peter's hand and rushes to tell her. The witch has Jonathan in captivity at the palace. She intends to use him as bait for luring Chen Lan, Peter, and Miss Dudley, who have the original seal. On the other hand, Dudley and Peter are approached by Cheng Lan, who asks them how they got their hands on the master's seal. Peter reveals that they were imprisoned in the Tower of London. She thanked him for traveling so far to return it as he hung the seal around her neck like a pendant. Meanwhile, the Kochai steals the map of the palace that Jonathan had drawn and brings it to Cheng Lan. The soldiers tell the impostor that while the real seal is in the village, they are unable to take it because it is in the possession of a Russian tsar. She tells them to bring the tsar to her. Once the soldiers approach him, they find out that Cheng Lan, the real princess, is with him. With the help of Jonathan's map, Chen, Peter, and Dudley prepare for an attack on the palace. However, their ultimate goal is to use Jonathan's inventions to attack the palace by air. Everyone, including children and the elderly, gets ready for the battle. When the guards ask the villagers about the flying equipment resembling umbrellas, they claim it's protection from the sun. Back at the palace, Peter and his crew meet with the witch for a private discussion. Meanwhile, Jonathan's been tied in front of the dragon's cave, and the people are waiting to see what the dragon will do to him. When Dudley notices this, he informs her that Jonathan is her husband, so the soldiers also decide to kill her. The crew tries to save her, but the wizards stop them. Chen and a few crew members are shocked to discover that the dragon being used is fake as they pass underwater into the dragon's cave. Turns out, it is a puppet that the witch's men are controlling. When Peter returns to the palace, the witch poisons him and instructs her maids to look for the seals on him so she can find the real dragon. Meanwhile, Jonathan and Dudley are tied to pillars. Dudley's mouth and Jonathan's eyes are covered. Together, they're electrocuted multiple times. The crew finds a way to free themselves, and next they destroy the fake dragon before freeing Jonathan and Dudley. When she expresses her displeasure with him for traveling with the Princess of China alone, he reassures her that she's the one he loves. They flee to the rope bridge after being attacked by one of the witch's men. The two dangle on the ropes while holding on for dear life after the man cuts the rope on the bridge. With Jonathan's invention, Li Hong and her people fly over the fields. They invade the palace and hit the guards with large pepper balls. The palace quickly turns into a battleground where the civilians win over the soldiers until armored wizards enter the scene. The wizard creates a smokescreen to blind the people while the second wizard attacks them. The wizards use the tea as fuel and gain control over lightning. The maid at the palace looks through Peter's clothes but cannot find the seal. Peter comes up with a plan to capture the witch. On the other hand, Cheng Lan discovers the real dragon when she enters the cave. She opens a chest with the seal and pulls out a suit. The dragon is then awakened by the seal. The master locked inside the great tower receives the dragon's power and soon begins to command the dragon from there. Meanwhile, the witch's guard freed her from Peter with a plan to run away with all the gold. After that, the guard is told to kill Peter, but the other soldiers who have seen the real princess convince him otherwise. She kills the guard when he turns on her and flees in a hot air balloon. After emerging from the cave on the dragon's back, Cheng Lan goes after the witch. After successfully removing her from the hot air balloon, they engage in combat on top of a tall tower. The witch threatens to steal the princess's seal, but Cheng Lan swears to reveal her true face. The hot air balloon tilts as they fight, and all the gold coins drop down on the villagers. They bring the battle down from the top of the tower as Cheng Lan and the witch duel. Cheng Lan tells the witch to give up and apologize to the people. She declines, and the two of her clones join her in the fight over the seal. They eventually manage to snatch the seal, and the witch then knocks the clones off the tall statue now that she doesn't need them anymore. Soon, everyone arrives at the tall statue, but the witch uses the seal to trick them into believing Cheng is the imposter. However, the Kachai flees to Cheng, making it clear that Cheng is the real princess. The witch stabs Jonathan before taking off the mask and revealing her true face. The witch then uses the seal to call the dragon. That's when the Kachai snatches the seal away from her. She then throws a spike at the Kachai, who drops the seal, and it's about to fall down the tower. Quickly, Chen hops on the dragon to save Kachai and the seal, but manages to save the Kachai because the witch dives to catch the seal in midair. The witch then orders the dragon to save her, but the dragon refuses to help her, and she falls into the water. Meanwhile, Miss Dudley tells Jonathan they are expecting a boy and begs him to stay alive. This news eventually gives him the strength to stay alive. On their way back home, they write to Lord Dudley and ask him to aid in the release of the Master, who is currently imprisoned in the Great Tower, because he is the only one who can help control the dragon. Later, when Hook enters the cell to free the Master, he shows them how he has already broken off all chains. The Master then asks Hook to accompany him to China. Back at the palace, Cheng meets her true love, who swore to protect her for the rest of his life. The movie ends when Hook asks where the dragon is. The Master responds that the dragon is the village itself. The Master has turned to China and is now spending his days teaching the children about the dragon and the healing tea. With that being said, this is it for today's video. Let us know what you thought about the movie in the comments section below. Thanks for watching.